A bombshell report on the president's taxes, a tough Sooner loss, and an OU college announces it will go online after Thanksgiving. This is OU Nightly. Thank you for joining us for OU Nightly. I'm Dylan Rivera.
And I'm Kelsey Hovanetz. We begin tonight with what some are calling an early October surprise.
A scathing report from the New York Times on President Trump's taxes. John Lawrence tells us what the president did and didn't pay.
President Trump's campaign facing a bombshell report.
Here it is, a month before the election, October surprise.
According to the New York Times, Donald J. Trump paid $750 in federal income taxes the year he won the presidency. In his first year in the White House, he paid another $750.
This suggests that Donald Trump needs the presidency right now because of the bills he has coming due.
The Times adds Trump didn't pay federal income taxes 10 out of 15 years starting in 2000 because he reported losing far more money than he made. The president called the Times report fake news.
Actually, I paid tax, and you'll see that as soon as my tax returns. It's under audit. They've been under audit for a long time.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi released a statement saying the Times story shows President Trump's disdain for America's working families. Democratic National Committee Chairman Tom Perez said Trump is using the presidency to line his pockets instead of helping the American people.
You have in Donald Trump a president who spends his time thinking about how he can work his way out of paying taxes, of meeting the obligation that every other working person in this country meets every year.
Some political analysts say the Times report is just a storm in a teacup.
It doesn't look like there's anything criminal in here, and he takes legal tax breaks that, as I understand it, are common to real estate investors.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
A lawyer for the Trump Organization told the New York Times, quote, most if not all of the facts appear to be inaccurate. The Times says it won't release the tax return information publicly in order to protect sources they say have taken enormous risks to help the public.
The University of Oklahoma College of Law says it will transition to online classes following Thanksgiving break. The announcement was emailed to law students last week. The decision comes in hopes of reducing the level of potential exposure to the coronavirus after students travel for the holiday. The university law calendar is different from the main undergraduate calendar. Law students have just 1 week after classes after break. As of now, the university plans to remain in person for the rest of the fall semester.
And that move comes as the number of COVID cases in Oklahoma continues to rise. Today, the state health department is reporting 861 new cases in Oklahoma, bringing the total number of active cases in the state to 13,379. There's also one new death reported. The statewide death toll from COVID stands at 1,007. The city of Norman reports 31 new cases today for a total of 422 active reported cases in Norman. OU's COVID dashboard showed that as of yesterday, the university reported 260 students and staff are in isolation, 68 of those due to a positive COVID test and the rest due to exposure.
With COVID safety expectations not met during the first OU football game, some changes had to be made. OU Nightly's Kara Carbs takes a look into what OU is doing to keep fans safe.
Disappointment is one word to describe how many people felt after the first OU game of the season. While OU won that game, all anyone was talking about was the failure of fans to adhere to COVID regulations.
I mean, it's not hard to wear a mask during the game. It's not that hot either, so which is nice.
The OU Athletics Department did a full revamp of seating in the student section and added ushers to enforce masking policies. Prior to the game, the Athletics Department released a statement from Lincoln Riley on the importance of following safety measures.
Make sure that you're masking up every day. We can't finish this season and have all the great times that we all share together in that stadium without all of us doing that. So please mask up to help us make that happen.
For the second game of the season, the student section was marked by flags indicating where students can sit. In addition to adding the flags, the student section was also moved to the right, wrapping behind the end zone. But finding available seating wasn't easy for students.
There were tons of student section kids trying to find places to sit, and the people working were we literally don't know where to put you guys. There's not enough room.
Those who did not comply with the rules were subject to be removed from the game and have their attendance revoked for the remainder of the season. There hasn't been any updates on further adjustments to game day procedures. Kara Carbs, OU Nightly.
The fate of fans remaining in the stadium for the fate of fans remaining in the stadium for home game days relies on compliance with all safety regulations. The university says that includes wearing a mask and social distancing.
Well, Dylan, it sure feels like football weather. I stepped outside today and I actually had to go back inside to put a sweatshirt on.
I had to do the same thing. Thomas Schmidt tells us if these cooler temperatures are going to stick around.
Well, Kelsey, you certainly weren't the only one who had to go do that. As you can see here, this is for 24 hours ago. Yesterday, we were 12 degrees cooler than we were. 12 to 15 degrees there cooler. And so this morning it was fairly chilly walking out the door this morning. So those temperatures are going to continue to drop down after 8 o'clock, 62 by 8, 56 by 10, and a 53 by midnight there with the winds changing there from the southwest. We are expecting good jump up to 85 for your Wednesday right before we cut back those temperatures for a second time later on Wednesday night. So the warm-up's coming through, second cold front, we're tracking that, and we're also tracking rain there on the 7-day. Guys, I'll have the latest for you coming up in just a bit.
Well, a former close aide to President Trump was hospitalized on Sunday. Kaitlyn Deggs has more on that story and the rest of today's headlines from around the world.
Thanks, Kelsey. President Trump's former campaign manager Brad Parscale was hospitalized Sunday following reports of a suicide attempt at his home in Florida. Parscale was safely taken into custody and transported to Broward Health Medical Center under what's known as the Baker Act, a Florida law allowing families to provide emergency mental health services for people with immediate concerns. Parscale was demoted from his position this summer after Trump's rally in Tulsa. He'd been on the job for 2 years and still held a senior position on the Trump campaign. New wildfires burned through Northern California, destroying 11,000 acres. The Glass Fire started in Napa County early Sunday morning and has since merged with 2 other fires. Tens of thousands of people have been forced to evacuate both Sonoma and Napa counties. 3 million acres have been burned by wildfires just this year in California, and that number is 26 times higher than it was this time last year. The National Weather Service has put much of California under a red flag warning, meaning that conditions are ideal for fires to spread rapidly. The only officer charged in connection to Breonna Taylor's death made his first court appearance late this afternoon and pleaded not guilty. Brett Hankison was fired by the Louisville Metro Police Department in June for his actions during the raid that killed Taylor in March. Hankison has been charged with 3 counts of first-degree wanton endangerment for blindly firing 10 shots into Taylor's home. If convicted, he will face up to 5 years in prison. The next pretrial date has been set for October 28th. Dylan and Kelsey, back to you at the desk.
Thank you, Kaitlyn. Universities across the nation are concerned about the new rule the Trump administration has proposed. For students studying longer than a 4-year term, they must take an extra step and apply for extended stay. OU is working with the Department of Homeland Security to condemn the proposed rule.
Plus, 2 major oil companies are merging together. Find out what the merger means for the stock market.
And when we come back, a bright spot for employees at United Airlines despite the still struggling airline industry.
Welcome back. United Airlines has made an important economic decision for the rest of the year.
Madisyn Lewis has the details in Money Matters. Madisyn?
You are right on the money, Dylan. According to a pilots union email, United Airlines has agreed not to furlough any of its pilots until at least June 2021. The airline originally planned to furlough 2,850 of its 13,000 pilots when the CARES Act pandemic payroll support expires on Thursday. Labor groups and airline CEOs are lobbying Congress for a $28 billion 6-month extension of the program. 50,000 airline workers face furloughs when the payroll program ends. And 2 of Oklahoma's largest oil producers will become one. This morning, WPX Energy announced they are merging with Oklahoma City-based Devin Energy. The deal will create an entity with a combined market value of over $6 billion. The new merged company will still be named Devin Energy and be based in Oklahoma City. And overseas, Uber has won an appeal to operate in London. This comes after the company was stripped of its license almost a year ago. In November of 2019, Transport for London stripped the ride-sharing app of its license, citing systemic failures and safety concerns. However, a judge at Westminster Magistrates Court ruled in favor of Uber's appeal. Uber hopes to be operating on the streets of London again soon. And Kelsey and Dylan, it's about to feel like Christmas in October. Amazon announced that Amazon Prime Day is set for October 13th and 14th. This two-day annual sales event typically happens in mid-July but was postponed this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The sales on Prime Day usually surpass Black Friday, and the company thinks Prime Day will be bigger this year than ever before. I mean, I know I'll be participating this year for sure, so back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Madison. My bank account is screaming already. Well, if you haven't filled out the 2020 census, you still have time. The deadline has been extended. We'll tell you how long you have and why filling it out is so important.
October is almost upon us, and it sure feels like fall. Thomas, will these cooler temperatures stick around?
Well, they will for tomorrow, but we are expecting a warm up, but we should cut them back right after that. I'll have the latest coming up in just a second. Some rain last night for some folks. Not everybody was seeing these amounts, either more or less in some areas. Just a trace to about 10th of an inch here in Norman, heavier the farther south and eastward you travel. So with the front, we did see the rain. We also see these winds, and they're still sticking around with us this afternoon. 20 miles per hour here in Norman. Stronger winds out to the south and to the west. And with the winds and the lack of rain and just the lack of moisture we've seen over the past several months, there is a severe to moderate fire threats. Drought monitors out there in western Oklahoma, which does give them an elevated fire risk for this afternoon and this evening. Those winds are going to be dropping down, though, so the threat will be coming down as we progress through the week. Taking a live look outside here, right here in Norman, we've got a few clouds in the sky, breaking that big blue a little bit with a 72-degree there, and the winds again howling from the northwest, 19 miles per hour, with a 34-degree dew point. So it is fairly dry outside, and it's going to be that way for the next several days looking ahead. So elsewhere in the state, 72 Norman, mid to upper 70s there, slightly cooler up for folks in the northwestern parts of the state. And here, there's that front down behind me here to the east. It's providing some marginally severe weather for those folks out there, and should be out of here for now. It's going to drop our temperatures down to the 40s for tonight. Tomorrow's going to be like today, mid to upper 70s there, and then Wednesday is going to be a big warm-up. We could see 85, a few 90s for folks down in the southwestern parts of the state there, right ahead of a second cold front. Again, it's going to be dry, but it will knock our temperatures back about another 10 to 15 degrees with that for your Thursday morning. And now taking a look at tonight, we're going to be 40s. It's going to be chilly outside, well below our normal of 59 degrees, with the winds calming down a bit from the northwest, about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tomorrow, again, like today, 73 here in Norman, could pop out an 80 or 2 down in the southwestern parts of the state. And jumping ahead to your 7-day, it's going to be sunny on Tuesday, warming up on Wednesday with a little breezy wind there right ahead of that cold front coming through on your Wednesday night. Jumping ahead, next chance of rain showing up on Saturday ahead of a third weaker cold front. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Thomas. If you haven't filled out the 2020 census, the time is now. The deadline has been extended to October 31st. Brooke Murski tells us why it's important to participate.
What if 40% of these people didn't exist? Well, technically, they might not when it comes to federal funding. Census officials say Oklahoma ranks 41st in census response rate.
It is critical to informing
A form by mail, over the phone, or online at my2020census.gov.
For the second straight season, the Sooners fall to the Kansas State Wildcats.
Madissen Daddario joins us to review Saturday's Wild game and breaks down what the loss means for OU.
The Sooners left many fans wondering what happened. And the Dallas Cowboys also struggled this weekend in Seattle against the Seahawks. Don't go anywhere. Sports is next. Back to OU Nightly, I'm Madissen Daddario, and it's time for sports. This past weekend, Sooner football played its first conference game of the season, and it ended in an unexpected loss. On Saturday, the Sooners took on K-State, starting out strong before Spencer Rattler turned into a turnover machine. Following their energetic start, it appeared that the Sooners got a little too comfortable. Caroline Grace has more on what went wrong in the Palace on the Prairie this past weekend.
Well, it is a sad day here for the Sooner Nation as Kansas State beats Oklahoma for the second year in a row, this time coming to Norman and upsetting them 38-35. And Spencer Rattler totally contradicting the confidence that we saw in him 2 weeks prior. Offensively, on paper, they looked better than Kansas State, so let's break this down a little bit. Oklahoma outplayed the Wildcats in total offensive yards and first downs, but defensively, the Wildcats had 85 total tackles, while the Sooners only had 56. And as far as turnovers are concerned, the Wildcats had the only ones on the field with a total of 4. Here's what defensive coordinator Alex Grinch had to say about what he's seeing in his team at practice.
Obviously, elite teams and good defenses, which clearly we're not, are able to have a resolve. Don't let one play beat you. Don't let one play turn into two, and have an energy regardless of what's going on. Can create their own emotion, can create their own energy, and again, it all comes back down to it's a results business. The facts are the facts, and we've talked about that. The film suggests that we are incapable as a coaching staff to get our guys to do it. And so we got to do a better job.
The Sooners head to Ames next weekend to take on Iowa State. So for now, I'm Caroline Grace, OU Nightly.
The Dallas Cowboys also suffered a loss this weekend against the Seattle Seahawks. Down 23-15 going into the second half, Dak Prescott and his offense were able to come back, trailing by only 1 touchdown. However, Seahawks QB Russell Wilson is on a hot streak with 14 touchdown passes in the last 3 games, causing the Cowboys to fall just short, losing 38-31. Speaking of stud quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs take on Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens in a much-anticipated Monday Night Football matchup. And the Stars take on the Lightning tonight in Game 6. Barely hanging on by a thread, the Stars were able to pull a much-needed win over the Lightning in double overtime this Saturday. The Stars now trail 3-2 in the series, and if the Lightning can pull out a win tonight, they will be the new Stanley Cup champions. After the Miami Heat made NBA history, winning 18 of their last 19 road games, they are headed to the finals. The Heat will be taking on the LA Lakers and their former teammate LeBron James, who has become the 4th player in NBA history to make it to the final 10 times. The series will start this Wednesday in the bubble. And 3 women made NFL history this weekend. For the first time ever, we saw 2 female coaches and 1 female official take the field. Callie Brownson, Jennifer King, and Sarah Thomas all shared the historic moment together during the Browns versus Washington game yesterday. That's all I have for sports. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Madison. And I always appreciate seeing when the women are getting involved in those coaching staffs. And, one that I really think of all the time is Becky Hammon for the San Antonio Spurs. And one thing that I heard was maybe she comes over and joins the Thunder as a coach. So I think that would be pretty solid, pretty slick little move for the Thunder there. But we'll have to see how that goes.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Well, the Sooners really stunk it up on Saturday. We saw that.
We will do you one better after the break. The story of the cop who saved the skunk coming up when OU Nightly continues.
I'm Devin Field at the OU Nightly Update Desk. President Donald Trump announced a plan to distribute millions of rapid coronavirus tests to the states this week. He's using this to help with school reopening efforts, urging governors to reopen schools for students in kindergarten through 12th grade. Trump claims this effort will allow every state to test teachers who need it on a regular basis. That's it for now. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Devin. Everyone knows what a skunk is capable of. Get sprayed by one, and you'll really have people keeping their social distance from you. The risk of being sprayed makes this cop's actions even more heroic.
The skunk is blinded by a container over its face, and Officer Eric Hanley steps in and helps. Hanley does everything he can to get away as quickly as possible after he spooks the skunk. I'm sure this will be one of those stories that he'll share for years. He'll probably tell his grandkids that story.
Aren't you supposed to drown in tomato sauce or something like that if you get sprayed?
It looked like he was in the clear though.
I don't know. Yeah, hopefully he's okay. Hopefully he doesn't smell bad. Well, that's our hope at least. Thomas, what do the temperatures look like for this week?
Well, for this week, I can tell you right now, they look pretty good. Tomorrow's going to be like it is today. Here we're looking outside now, downtown Norman, taking back here to the 7-day. It's going to be 73, like I said, like this week. We're going to be warming up quite a bit for Wednesday, jumping above that average. Before that, right ahead of that cold front comes through Wednesday night into Thursday morning. And like I said, we get those south winds pumping in all that moisture for Friday. We could see a spotty shower or two on Saturday, just ahead of that 3rd and final cold front.
It's a little disappointing that those colder temperatures come on Friday. You know, high school football is always going around the state. It's going to be a little cold for those high schoolers out there.
I would rather that than the ridiculous heat we've been having, though.
That's absolutely right, I guess. Well, thank you for joining us for OU Nightly. We're live every weekday from Gaylord Hall on the campus of the University of Oklahoma.
We'll see you back here tomorrow night, live at 4:30.